Welcome to my channel. My name is Barry Ben, and I'm gonna give you guys my day one experience on Wuthering Waves. Now, I wanted to make this video just to sort of convince people who are on the fence whether you want to play the game or not play the game based on its issues. Now, for the most part, I assume many people see this game as another Genshin clone. And I'll be honest, I'm coming from playing Genshin, not regularly. I used to play Genshin way back in the day. I was probably maybe a week one, month one player, somewhere around there. Definitely it wasn't day one. And I played a lot of Genshin. And to be honest with you, oh my god, that was so much wasted fucking time. But yeah, I stopped playing around when Raiden Shogun, or whatever her name is, the blue lady with the lightning sword, whenever she came out, I stopped playing the game. Now whether you hate me because of that, whether you hate the idea that I no longer play Genshin, I don't really care. The game was just boring for me, and I got really tired with all the time-limited events and FOMO and all the garbage that Genshin Impact just ended up having. It just wasn't fun. Visually, great game. We all know this. Anyways, moving on. So I have played Genshin Impact, and I have played gacha games like Tower of Fantasy, and, you know, stuff like that. I haven't played anything like Punishing Gray Ravens, which Wuthering Waves has also made, but those are sort of my experiences with gacha games, mainly Tower of Fantasy and Genshin Impact. And as far as a day one experience goes for games, I will say Wuthering Waves impressed me quite a bit. There was obviously connection issues. I was stuttering a little bit. My character was, you know, doing the stanky lag at some points, but nothing too major other than stutter. And I will say for the most part, this game is single player. It's not like a Destiny where you're going to see other people in the world, or a Dark Souls where you're going to see like messages or something that people leave behind. This is a single player game, like most gachas. Unless, you know, Tower of Fantasy, or I guess if you do group activities in Genshin, but let's be honest, you're mainly playing Genshin solo. Anyways, I will say, visually, I think the game is on the level of Genshin, or a little bit better. For me, personally, it's a little bit better. I think it's more cleaner, it's more less glowy and vibrant. I think Wuthering Waves is more refined, if you will. It's just something about the art style, to me, speaks more louder than it did for Genshin Impact. Also, I will say that the characters are really well designed. And what I mean by that is, normally when you play gacha games, you'll see an anime character and be like, oh, this looks like this character from this show, or this character from this game. You know, so like most males that have red hair in any gacha game are typically compared to Diluc from Genshin Impact, that sort of thing. But I will say, so far, at least the characters that I've seen, all seem pretty unique. I will say, main character especially looks pretty unique for a main character. He doesn't look like a soy boy or fucking... I played as the male, so I can't speak on the female, but doesn't look soy at all. He actually looks like a fucking Giga Chad. And I like playing as a Giga Chad rather than some soy twink like the Genshin Impact main character. So I'm happy with that. And overall, I think the game looks more like a grown-up Genshin Impact. Now, you might hate me if I said that if you're a Genshin Impact lover. But what it seems like to me is that Wuthering Waves is going to be kind of for the people who are a little tired of Genshin Impact, and very fatigued off Genshin Impact. And that's where I really think the community is going to thrive. Because Genshin Impact, for the most part, you're playing as kids, or they kind of feel like you're playing as kids. And I don't just mean playing as like Klee or Diona. I'm talking about just the characters in general. They're smaller, they're definitely like pandering to the younger side, where it feels like Wuthering Waves characters are 20s, 30s, maybe even 40s, and it feels like Genshin Impact characters are anywhere from the 16 to 20 range, you know, roughly, other than obviously, you know, the children. But then, I will say, so far, the game has dumped a lot of info in the first, I guess, 3 to 4 hours that I've played. But this is, like, kind of natural. Like, in every game, when you start, you're just gonna get fed a bunch of info. It's just kind of normal and kind of to be expected when you play a new game. You're just gonna get a bunch of info dump in your face. There's a lot of things I don't really understand about the game, and some UI things that I don't fully understand about the game. But that will obviously come with time. Nothing like too crazy and ridiculous there. The game does have a kind of parry system. It's where if you dodge at the right time, you can then execute like a counter sort of thing. It's pretty cool. Makes from some pretty interesting combos if you dodge at the right time and then focus other enemies. That's another thing. Game has a focus system, similar to like Monster Hunter Worlds, or even Dark Souls in that respect, where you can actually focus an enemy and you're not just fucking autopiloting like you are in Genshin Impact. And another thing with the comparison there is Genshin Impact, I felt like was brain dead up until the level 60-70 mark, where I could just have my brain off and then ooga booga do damage. This game definitely seems a lot more complex than Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact also just kind of had elements, and that's the only thing you really needed to watch for. So far in Wuthering Waves, I know this is early on, elements don't seem to be too big of an issue, but learning how to play your character and learning how to dodge correctly and use abilities definitely seems like the way, which I'm happy about. I'm all for a more skill-reliant game rather than just ooga booga, I paid a lot of money for this character. So that seems to be pretty good. I do also really enjoy the fact that they have what is essentially mini Pokemon in the game. You get to kill creatures in the wild, and you can just use that creature. I don't know much. I haven't done a lot of research on the game itself. So I don't know what endgame looks like. I don't know what anything like that looks like. Kind of just going in fresh. I thought, you know, give this game a chance. I gave Tower Fantasy the same sort of chance. Might as well give this game, you know, just a blind run through, see how it goes. But so far, it seems like you can kill pretty much any creature. And when you kill the creature, they have a chance to basically become your Pokemon. And then you can use it sort of like you could with artifacts in Genshin Impact. And they will increase your stats. And then you also get like a bonus move with them, which is pretty cool. Some of them have overlapping moves, you know, like if the game has 150 enemies, I'm not expecting 150 different moves. I'm expecting some of them to be overlapped. That's perfectly fine. Think it's a really cool idea. The shinies is also a really cool idea. I think shinies in any sort of catch game is mandatory because it leaves something to be desired if you ever get just bored with the game. It's something I enjoyed doing in Pal World, just running around trying to find shinies, just because they're bigger and they look cooler. That's pretty much it. And then the world, I will also say, is a pretty good size for launch. I haven't obviously explored the whole world, so I can't say every nook and cranny is perfect. But so far, the game feels like I've got a lot of area to cover. I would say Genshin Impact on launch probably had a bigger area. I don't actually know. So I'm just saying that based off what I see in the game. So don't take my word for that if I'm wrong. But definitely seems like there's a lot of things to do in the world as well. There's a lot of really cool movement features like a grappling hook. And there's the glider, obviously. Personally, I would like to see the glider have a little less decline, and maybe fly a little more straight, but if it doesn't happen, don't really care. It's not like a major issue, just a preference thing. The MC talking is kind of crazy to me because I don't think I've played any gacha game where my main character actually has voice lines, so I can put myself in a Giga Chad position. Pretty good voice line. I'm playing on English. That's another sort of issue. If you play on English, there'll be times if you're in the auto skip dialogue where they'll just cut off and you'll lose lines of dialogue. Not too major, as it's just like typically one off comment or whatever. I'm assuming it's because the Japanese or the different versions are speaking quicker and the game's not accounting for the English being slower, so it's just kind of auto skipping. It is what it is. Don't really care. Slight issues. Oh well. Not like an uninstall because of issue type thing. And then I love the design visually of the game. I cannot tell you how fucking amazing the game looks without you playing the game. Now, I will be having gameplay in this background that you'll be seeing. Visually, fan-fucking-tastic. But if you haven't tried the game is free to play, so there's no point in not downloading it unless you just maybe don't want to waste the time, I guess. But if you are a anime enjoyer, or you like playing any sort of video game with combat, I think this game is a fantastic try, both visually, just a fucking amazing game. I've heard the story gets better. So far the story's been okay. It's kind of just been like a bunch of filler garbage, I guess. But I have gotten to one or two story points where it looks pretty good and starting to heat up, and there's some cool ideas they're introducing. But yeah, if you're on the fence with this game, I definitely think it's worth a try. I will also say that the enemies in the game, not only like the diversity of enemies, but like the main bad guy, or bad guys, I guess, look amazing, and they actually feel imposing. I felt like other gacha games don't really have any sort of villain where I'm like, oh no, what is this guy gonna do? Where Wuthering Waves, with the first, I guess, main villain you encounter, you definitely get the sense of like, oh shit, this guy's actually bad, and this guy actually could be a problem. Where in like Genshin Impact, you didn't really have like a main enemy. Like in the beginning you had the dragon, and then after the dragon it was like the clone of you or something, or whatever the opposite gender you chose, and then nothing, pretty much. It was just, hey, go to the city, do this thing. Hey, go to fucking, I don't even remember what the place was called, and go help out Zhongli. That type of stuff. It is what it is. But yeah, this game so far definitely seems like, sounds really, really weird for me to say, because I respect Genshin Impact's graphics a lot higher than I think most people do. And honestly, it's just, this game does feel like either an upgrade or you're getting a different version of Genshin Impact in a good way. Not like a copy-paste and like a, you know, man, I just finished Dark Souls 3, what's the next game I should play? Oh, Sekiro looks cool, you know what I mean? That type of like, oh, it's different, but it's still technically a Souls, you know what I mean? That's what this game feels like. Obviously, there's pay to win. It's a gacha game. It is what it is. If you don't like pay to win, then you shouldn't be playing any mobile game ever, because they're a part of every mobile game. I am playing on PC, by the way. I should probably preface that. And pay to win is just kind of like meta anyways, so if you care that much about pay to win, I guess don't play the game and go play fucking Skyrim or whatever game isn't pay to win nowadays. But yeah, I definitely think this game is worth a try. Now, I'm gonna give a prediction in where I think this game is gonna end up in a year, because I think it's a cool idea to just predict where a game will be in a year, especially if this is day one launch. But I think this game will never, and this might be a hot take, I don't know. I don't think this game is ever going to reach the height of Genshin Impact, and that's just because I think MiHoYo just owns everyone. Especially because they've had, MiHoYo essentially has had the Dark Souls franchise, and then Genshin Impact was their Elden Ring. So naturally, Elden Ring's just going to dominate the Souls genre overall. I think Genshin Impact's the same way. It's just going to dominate overall the gacha community. But I will say Wuthering Waves, I think, is going to pop off. I think it'll probably get to, I want to say 4 or 5 times what the popularity is now. Sorry, excuse me. Anyways, yeah. I do think this game is going to pop off. Nowhere near the level of Genshin, but probably at least 5 times the size it is now. That's my estimate, I'd say. And I think in a year from day one, I think this game will still be alive. I don't think it's going to be dead. There will probably be player dips here and there, based on content droughts, based on how endgame works, based on bugs and glitches, the likes of the sort. But I do think this game does have a future. If you're worried about this game, you know, is it going to end up like Tower Fantasy where they close the servers and are relaunching blah 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 blah? I don't think so. I think this game is pretty safe to play if you plan on playing a gacha game for the next year guaranteed. I would probably say there's not going to be any issues with the game for at least 4, maybe 5 years. And that's just based on it having solid foundations. Now, this is a bold prediction. I know that. And I've only got probably 3 to 4 hours of experience. I know that. But that's my prediction nonetheless. Maybe I'm going to look like a clown. Maybe I'm going to look like a genius. And in 5 years' time, it'll be 5 times as popular as it is today. Who knows? But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for this video. If you stuck around to the end, I appreciate you, and I hope you have a good day.